Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. Today, we're going to make some coleslaw. I made pulled pork the other night, and we need coleslaw to put on our sandwiches because like every Southerner, you put coleslaw right smack dab on top of that pulled pork, throw it on a bun, and it's the best sandwich you'll ever eat. So let's get busy. Very few ingredients. It's not going to take long. So starting with a head of cabbage, and I buy organic cabbage, but you buy what you feel most comfortable with. Now, regardless of how much you think you're going to make, it'll probably turn out a lot more in the bowl. I'm just saying. You think, oh, I need to fill this bowl up. But by the time you put your mayonnaise and your other ingredients on it, it looks like it's kind of sunken down, but it just keeps going on forever. So we're going to take this cabbage and just slice it super thin. I'm hoping you can pick up on what I'm doing here. Just literally slivers. Now, if you have a shredder that you like using that won't just tear up that head of lettuce, then that's great. Go ahead and use that. I kind of like mine in bigger chunks. I'm not sure why. But I actually have put mine in the Vitamix before because in the tutorial video that comes with the Vitamix, it talks about putting these giant chunks of cabbage in there, like a fourth of a head of cabbage, poking them down there, filling it all the way up with water, and hitting the button for, I think, 10 seconds, and it literally looked like snow. It was the coolest thing ever. Now that was some interesting coleslaw. But I tend to like mine on the chunky side, but you do have to drain all the water off when you make it like that, like they showed in the tutorial. But it was certainly an interesting texture, I will say that. I'm going to turn it sideways and just give it a few chops this direction. We're just going to put this in our mixing bowl. Another chunk off of it. The nice thing about coleslaw is one of the nice things too, is that once you use what looks to be all the solids out of the coleslaw, you still have this liquid left. So really all you do is add a little bit more cabbage, a little bit more carrot, a little bit more onion. It just kind of keeps going as far as the sauce replenishes itself. Now this is a typical Southern coleslaw. This is not a vinegar-based coleslaw. This is not one of those yogurt-based coleslaws. This is just something your Nana would make. And this is kind of like how my Nana made it, except she didn't make her own mayonnaise. And she probably used some Miracle Whip, which is basically mayonnaise with a whole lot of sugar in it. And that's why it's called salad dressing and not mayonnaise. But this would rival my Nana's coleslaw, I think. She would be proud. She'd actually be more proud because she's not the one that had to make it. If somebody else made it and it still tasted as good as hers, she was thrilled for us. All right, next thing we want to put in there is a little bit of onion. And this really just depends on your taste. I like to take just a couple of thin slices of onion, a couple or three. Thin slices of onion, and we're just going to chop those up into little pieces. Cloudy outside it, and there's a chance of rain, so I have two doggies sitting right down there that are staring at me, because normally when I start talking to the camera and they think I'm losing my mind because there's really nobody else in here, they want to go out in the sunroom. They're just like, I gotta get away from her. But right now they are sitting down here beside me because the first raindrop that starts hitting our roof, and they can hear it on the pipe above my vent hood in my kitchen, start shaking, and they are so terrified of rain, and oh, thunder just sends them. You gonna make some noise? Okay, put our onions in there. And the last thing we're going to use is a carrot. And I'm going to use my kitchen scrubby. I don't peel carrots, I scrub carrots. Peeling carrot just seems like a big waste of product to me, so I don't do that. This is when we need our box grater. And if you want them super tiny, use the little holes on the box grater. If you want it bigger, use the bigger holes. Or if you just want to chop up the carrot, it's fine too. But you want to make sure your carrot's sweet and not bitter. There is such an incredible difference in the taste of your final product, really depending on the sweetness of that carrot. And these are the carrots that I buy on a continual basis, and they have never ever disappointed me. I think they just go through them so fast at our big store in town, they can't possibly get bitter. The recipe for this will be in the description of the video, but I'm just not really sure how detailed I can get about the amount of carrot and onion and cabbage in this, because I'm not weighing this, I'm just eyeballing it. But I will list the ingredients, and it'll just be strictly up to you on how much you want of each of those things in there. Okay, at this point we have this in our bowl, and I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to clean this up. I'll get my ingredients together. We'll come back. We'll make the dressing that goes on top of it. Okay, I looked in the refrigerator for mayonnaise, and I remembered I wanted to put a green onion in there. So just for color, but also it adds a little bit of flavor to it. I went through a stage in my childhood when, probably a young teenager, if I ordered something and they put a green onion on or onion, I would just almost cry. I would just get so frustrated because I'm like, I have to pick this whole dish apart because I don't like those. When in reality, a few years later, I started liking them. I can't get enough of them. Now, I don't like them raw. My granddad used to sit and just eat green onions at the table, and I'm like, that was so awful. But in foods, I just think they're quite fabulous. Okay, not a lot. Now, I will also go plunk this in some soil outside, and it will continue to grow, and that's why I always have green onions. All right, we're going to make our sauce in our bowl. I have this mayonnaise that I bought for something else, and I can't remember what it was, but it really is a fabulous mayonnaise. There's the name of it. But instead of using homemade mayonnaise, I'm just using this. And I would say with that, girls, I would say with that much, we're going to go with about what looks like to be maybe half cup of mayonnaise. So it looks like this. To that, we're going to add Dijon mustard. You could always add more later, but I would say probably 2 teaspoons to 1 tablespoon is what I just put in there. A little over 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. A good amount of pepper because we like pepper in our stuff. And then I'm just putting some raw honey in it. We'll go with probably close to 2 tablespoons of raw honey. If you want, you can use a splash of cider vinegar in this. I don't necessarily need it to be more runny, so I don't want that, but I do like the flavor of cider vinegar in this. But this will be fine. I'll show you what this looks like. It almost looks like a honey mustard dressing. All right, we're just going to pour this over the top. And the reason it always looks so much wetter after it's sat in the refrigerator after you make it is because the cabbage holds so much moisture in it. If you've ever made homemade sauerkraut, and we've actually done a video of how to make homemade fermented sauerkraut, it's fabulous. Really, cabbage and salt, that's it. Not even any water to it, just cabbage and salt. The cabbage releases so much moisture that it's not the dressing that you're using, it's the cabbage. It has a lot of moisture inside it when you start out. You just don't realize it because cabbage just doesn't feel that wet. Okay, and as much as this does not look like that's enough dressing in there, it's probably going to be enough dressing in there. Sometimes if I'm serving this as a side dish and not for a topping for sandwiches, I'll also add slivered or sliced toasted almonds and raisins. And it adds a good amount of sweetness to it, but also that crunch from the almonds is really nice. You can also add chopped apples. That adds a good flavor as well. Okay, I actually think that's the perfect amount. The cabbage is wet, but it's not too wet. It's not just drippy because it's going to be releasing a lot of moisture anyway, so there will be a little puddle of sauce down there, so right before you use it, you'll need to stir it up. But this is what our coleslaw looks like. We had guests at our house years ago. We lived in Tulsa. We're sitting at the table. It's a mom and a dad and several of their kids, and the littlest child out of all the boys, they had several boys, one little girl, and we had lasagna, we had coleslaw, and I can't remember, garlic bread or something like that. And she looked at her mom with big tears in her eyes, and she was the cutest thing ever. And she said, "But Mama, I don't like coleslaw." So for a long time, we called this coleslaw. Okay. So this is what our coleslaw looks like. Give you a good look at that. And this is going to be so good, especially on those barbecue sandwiches. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. Recipes in the description. Thanks, guys. Bye.